What is up, y'all? Welcome back to The Authentic Saints, where all the authentic saints abide. I'm your host, Asupi Simone. If you are not new here, welcome back, family. And if you are new here, what are you doing? Join the family because we are lit over here. And just join the family. Anyways, you guys, I am back. I am on a roll. Okay, this is episode 6. And this is my second week of posting, and I'm committed to this. I told y'all I was committed, and I'm serious, okay? If you're watching on YouTube, you see that we are in a whole different setup place than we were before. Last week, I was at the other side of my room, and now I'm on my bed, and I love it here. I wanted to be comfortable doing these EPs because I just want to be able to be comfortable, because I feel like when you're comfortable, you're able to give more. You know what I mean? Well, in a sense, y'all know what I mean. Like, I just feel like if I'm comfortable, I'm able to be more vulnerable, and I just like being comfortable because I feel like, it's just easy to just kind of do the, be on my bed and stuff. Anyways, y'all can see my cup. If you're on YouTube, you see my cup. It says Jesus in my heart, coffee in my hands. If y'all didn't know, I love coffee, but actually today I'm not drinking coffee. Today I'm drinking tea from Bigelow. This is Bigelow ginger tea. I think it's ginger with honey and something else. I can't remember, but it is so good. So if y'all hear me taking a sip like this, I just know I'm drinking my tea. Okay, I don't know what it is in this season. I've been loving teas. I'm still a coffee lover, but I don't know. Something is happening in the realm of the tea because I've been loving teas this season. Anyway, this podcast is not about teas, so let's just get right into the podcast. There's no life update. Life has been lifing, but God has been good. Today, we are going to be talking about necessary interruptions. I'm excited to talk about this topic because I feel like this is something that God is wanting to speak to a lot of people about. Because sometimes God interrupting us, can feel like, like interruptions. It could just feel like regular interruptions. It can be frustrating when our life is interrupted. But when God interrupts your life, just know it's because He's trying to do something with your life. Interruptions are actually an invitation to more. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be in the story of Jonah. So Jonah chapter 1. So to kind of give you a little bit of context, what happened with Jonah, who is Jonah? Jonah was a prophet. And who God had called to go and preach to the people of Nineveh. But when God was calling Jonah, Jonah was being rebellious as heck. Jonah was like, I'm not trying to do what you're telling me to do. I'm not trying to preach to these people. I'm just not going to do what you're telling me to do. I'm going to be rebellious. And so Jonah begins to run away from God. And so long story short, God ends up putting Jonah in the belly of a fish, and Jonah is in the belly of a fish for a couple days, and he's crying out to God and pleading with God and praying to God. And then God opens the mouth of the fish and takes him out of it, and then God tells him, go and speak to my people. And then Jonah finally listens. So Jonah was running away from the call that was on his life, and so what does God do? God interrupts his life. But let's just read real quick. Jonah chapter 2, it says, Jonah chapter 2, verse 1-9, it says, then Jonah prayed to his God from the belly of the fish. He prayed, in trouble, deep trouble, I prayed to God. He answered me. From the belly of the grave I cried, help. You heard my cry. You threw me into ocean's depths, into a watery grave with ocean waves, ocean breakers crashing over me. So basically the whole chapter 2 of Jonah is basically just praying and talking to God. Then Jonah chapter 3, verse 1-2 says, next, God spoke to Jonah a second time, up on your feet and on your way to the big city of Nineveh. Preach to them. They are in a bad way, and I can't ignore it no longer. This time, Jonah started off straight for Nineveh, obeying God's orders to the letter. So God gives Jonah a second chance to do what, he was calling him to do. And then Jonah ends up doing it. And this whole amazing thing happens. And, it was just, it was really great. And so why are we talking about the story of Jonah? Because what happens in the story of Jonah is God interrupts Jonah's life. So Jonah's calling, so God was calling Jonah onto an assignment, and Jonah didn't want to be obedient to that assignment. And so what does God do? God interrupts his life. That's a necessary interruption, because God was trying to do something with his people, but God was wanting to do it through Jonah. But Jonah, in his disobedience and his rebellious, he didn't want to answer the call. And so, yeah, God interrupted his life. And so, how does this relate to us? Quick story time. This relates to me because I was in a season one time where God completely interrupted my life, but it was a necessary interruption. I think it was 2 years ago. I had gotten in a really bad car accident. I feel like all of my EPs, I'm always talking about car accidents. God delivered me from car accidents. But 2 years ago or 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I had gotten in a car accident. My car was completely totaled. And when my car got totaled, I was very frustrated. I was really angry. I was really upset. I remember being frustrated because my car was completely totaled, which means that I wasn't going to have a car. And I think that year I didn't have a car for 2 months. And the thing that was so bad was like, I go to a church that's about an hour and 15 minutes from me. So for those of y'all who don't know, I live in Maryland. My church is in Virginia, so it's about an hour, 15 minutes away. So I couldn't get to church. I couldn't get to work because I'm an entrepreneur and I work in the DMV, so I don't work like in a specific place. I travel to go get content from my clients and all that different stuff. So not being able to have a car meant that I wasn't going to be able to get around. So that was another frustrating factor that played in my life. But I remember that season, I was always busy. Like I was never home. I think I would spend like 5 minutes with God and then I would go about my day. Like it was that bad. Like I never had any time for God because I was always hanging out with friends, always at church, always working. I always felt so burnt out, but I just kept going. And it was weird because every single time like I was forced to be home, like on a Saturday when I had nothing to do, I would find something to do outside of the house because I just hated being home. I hated being home by myself with God because I always felt bored. I always felt lonely. And I wasn't growing in that season. I was very comfortable. I was very complacent because, I was so focused on hanging out and so focused on work and so focused on, just these other things apart from what God was calling me to do, that God was like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of you being complacent and comfortable. Now I have to make you uncomfortable so I can fulfill my plan in your life. And so that's what God did. So when I got into the car accident, I was home for 2 months. And so I was forced to be home all day. I did get a ride to church sometimes. Sometimes I got a ride, to work. Some of my friends would give me rides and my mom sometimes. But apart from that, I was home. And I remember that season actually was the best season of my life because that season I found so much healing. I found so much growth. Like it was a season of facing a lot of things that I thought that I healed from and grew from, but I really never did. That was a season where I got really, really close to God, like tremendously close to God, like so freaking close to God, okay? I came out that season feeling like me and God were like this, okay? We were like two peas in a pot, like we were inseparable, and it was the best season of my life. And it was crazy because when I came out of that season, I finally ended up getting a car. When I got a car, God had placed a book in my hand to write. The book is not out yet, y'all. It's gonna be out, I promise. Listen. The enemy's been trying me, but this book is gonna come out. Just watch. But in that season of my life, God inspired me to write a book, and I finished writing the book. It just hasn't been published. I also started my podcast in that season. I started getting like, different, strategies, and like God was giving me so much wisdom for my business and just different things. Like I started in that season, but it was because I had no choice but to focus on my goals and to focus on God in that season. So God interrupting my life with a car accident or allowing me to go in that allowing that car accident to happen and interrupting me in that life actually worked for my favor. That's why I love the Bible, because the Bible says that God works all things together for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. So yes, the car accident may not have been God, but God was the one who allowed it. And why did God allow it? Because God knew that He wanted to get me to a place where it was just me and Him, a place of consecration, not isolation, but consecration. God was consecrating me because He wanted to press me. He wanted to build me. He wanted to mold me. He wanted to cultivate me because there was something great that He was calling me to do, but I couldn't do it because I was so unfocused. And so in that season where God interrupted my life, He started sharpening my focus. And so what are some things that you'll experience when God interrupts your life? Number one, when God interrupts your life, one of the reasons why God is going to do that is because it's an invitation for more. God is wanting to do more with you, but He's wanting you to seek more. And so That is one reason. Another reason is God interrupts your life because he sees something that's going to happen or coming that you don't see. I'm fully convinced that God allowed me to go into that, car accident because there was something that the enemy was planning that was going to be worse. Cuz yes, my car was totaled. Yes, it was a really bad accident, but I'm still alive and breathing. And it's crazy because in that season of my life, my car was having so many issues. Like my car was hydroplaning, like I would get into weird mini accidents. It was really weird. And I really do believe that the enemy had a way bigger plan, a big plan to like harm my life. But God's plan, sorry, y'all, my camera stopped. But God's plans for my life was bigger than whatever plans the enemy had. And God wanted to quickly stop his plans. And so God allowed, my car to be totaled in that accident because God was saving me for something. Another thing I wanted to bring up was recently actually when I was on my way to work. I was on my way to go work on a client's project. And on my way to the client's project, my car is on E. And like my car is not on E like I still got time. My car is on E like, girl, if you don't put gas in your car right now, your car is gonna shut down in the middle of the road. So I was still irritated because I was like, oh my God, like I'm already running late. Like I don't want to have to stop to get gas. But I was like, okay, let me stop to get gas. So I got gas really quickly. And then my client texted me. She's like, hey, Soupy, I'm running a little late. So you have a few minutes. And I'm like, oh, thank God. So I'm like, okay, now that I have a few minutes, what do I do with my time? And I was like, oh, let me go get some coffee because, I love coffee. And there was a Dunkin' right next to the gas station. It's funny because I'm not a Dunkin' lover. I absolutely don't love Dunkin'. I am a Starbucks girl, Starbucks all day, every day. I love Starbucks. I live for Starbucks. I am from Starbucks, okay? Please don't get offended if you don't like Starbucks. I love Starbucks and that's just it, okay? But it's so funny because that day, the closest coffee shop to me was Dunkin'. So I was like, you know what? Let me just go to Dunkin'. So I went into the Dunkin' and I got my coffee. And then I'm like, you know what? Let me kill some more time and just get some work done because I had to edit some videos, edit some reels and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait in the Dunkin'. I'm going to edit some videos, edit some reels, and kill some time. So I'm sitting down, editing and all that different stuff. And then there's two men that walk into the Dunkin'. They sit down right next to me and they begin talking about business. They were talking about their business plans, growing their business. And then they start talking about social media, growing their social media, growing their platform, this and that, content, this and that. And for those of y'all who know, I am a social media manager and I'm a social media marketing strategist. So when I heard this, of course, I'm going to interrupt their conversation and introduce myself. So that's exactly what I did. I interrupt their conversation and I'm like, hey, y'all, like, I don't mean to interrupt, but my name's Soupy Simone. I'm a social media manager and a marketing strategist. And I want to introduce myself and let y'all know if y'all ever need help with your content or you want to, hire a social media manager, I got y'all. And they were like, oh my God, like this is perfect timing. Like this is no coincidence. And you are here for a reason because we have been looking for social media manager and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, what is that called? A Kairos moment? Being at the right place at the right time. Like God knew that I needed to be at that coffee shop because there was a big contract that was waiting for me, but he had to interrupt my day. So my question is, are you going to allow God to interrupt your plans? Are you going to allow God to interrupt your day in order for him to do something great within it? Like, isn't that crazy? Like I ended up meeting two successful business owners, that are willing to pay me good money, to offer them my services. But if I wasn't there, if I didn't allow God to interrupt me in that moment, I would have never been at the right place at the right time. Like my plan originally was to simply go to the gas station and then go straight to my client. But guess what? My client was running late. I needed gas, and then I had gotten the gas, and then I wanted some coffee, and there was only a Dunkin', so I went to the Dunkin', and then boom, I meet two people that are wanting and needing a social media manager, and I've been praying for God to bring me more business. Necessary interruptions. There are some moments and seasons in your life that God will come in and he'll interrupt your plans. He'll interrupt your day. He'll interrupt whatever. And it's not because he's trying to frustrate you or upset you, but it's because he's trying to set you up for something good, girl. He's trying to set you up for something good, boy. Like God does these things for a reason, and we have to be able to trust him in those moments. And so what was going on with Jonah? Like, Jonah was called. God was calling him to something great. God wanted to do something great in Jonah's life. God had called him for a purpose, and he wanted to be comfortable. He wanted to be complacent. And so God said, I'm going to interrupt your life. I'm going to put you in the belly of a fish. You're going to get your life together, and we're going to get this stuff done. And guess what? I believe that when Jonah did that, he felt completely fulfilled, and he felt completely happy doing being in God's will and fulfilling God's purpose for his life. And so, there are some seasons in your life that God will come and he will interrupt. And if he does, it is because of something good. And that's kind of all that I have for you guys today. In my last episode, I said that I wanted to start keeping these podcasts very short because it helps me to continue going, if that makes sense, because a lot of times I record these really late at night. Like right now, it is 2:07 and I am tired, but I am committed. So I was like, I'm gonna record an episode tonight, and I really felt like God was putting this topic on my heart, necessary interruptions. And so that's it for tonight, y'all. I love you guys so much. If you are loving these episodes, if you are loving this podcast, make sure you subscribe if you're on YouTube, and like, comment. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, still like, comment, subscribe. Like, because I think you could subscribe to the podcast. You can't comment, but you can always text me on Instagram at Asupi Simone or at The Authentic Saints, and let me know if you're blessed by these episodes. And yeah, I'm going to be recording another episode tomorrow. I'm excited for this journey, and I'm thankful for everyone that has been, coming on this journey with me, and has been sitting here and, really just supporting me and everything. I love you guys so much, and I'm going to see you guys in the next episode. Bye.